You've often heard about vector spaces and you still wonder what actually that is. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Educate. In this video, we'll be tackling vector spaces in linear algebra 2. So now let's break down the terms first. We have got vector and we have got spaces. Basically, in mathematics terms, whenever we talk about spaces, we're talking about sets, which is just a collection of items that have got similar properties. So in this case, when we're talking about a vector space, we say that this is a set of objects. So it is a set, by the way. And remember, a set collects items that have got similar properties or items of the same kind. So it is a set of objects, and those objects are known as vectors. But wait a bit, I'm sure you know something about vectors because this is definitely not the first time. We have done vector calculus in calculus 1, and you probably took a mechanics class and you have a big idea of what vectors are. Vectors are simply quantities that have got magnitude and direction. And just because we're in linear algebra 2, it doesn't mean all of that is going to change. We are just going to represent them in a mathematical way and try to represent everything and try to manipulate the vectors and try to analyze what operations are found on vectors. Whenever we talked about vectors, you still remember getting a resultant vector. We used to add vectors, and we also used to scale them by multiplying the scalar factor. So one of the properties of a vector space is that the objects found in a vector space, which are the vectors, they can be added and they can also be scaled by multiplication. For example, if I tell you that this is a vector v in vector calculus, if this is vector v and then I say give me vector 2v, so vector 2v is going to be something like this. So it simply means that now my vector is going to be 2 times this one. That means I'm scaling it, I'm multiplying it by a scalar. Or I can choose to add 2 vectors. Maybe I've got this vector here and I say maybe this is vector a, and then I've got this as vector b, and then I can say vector a and vector b, they are following each other. I can make a resultant and say that the sum of a and b is going to be this vector, which is the sum of vector a and vector b. So we're just going to take all of this knowledge and we're just going to represent it completely mathematical with no diagrams and no geometry. But for us to not deviate, I'm going to start with a vector that you know already, which is your common arrow that has got magnitude and direction. So let us take it to the x and y coordinate system by bringing a vector and say this is my x and y axis. So this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. So I'm going to draw a vector here which is known as a position vector that stems from the origin, a point of origin, and it goes to this plane here. So basically this vector, I'm going to label it or describe it by using its components, because you can see that this vector here, it has a component along the x-axis and a component along the y-axis, as you already know vectors, of course. So the component along the x-axis stems from here at the origin to here. This is the x component. Let us just say that its magnitude is 3. And then now let's say that the y component of this vector is going to be from here to here, and this is going to be maybe of a magnitude 2, for example. So this vector here, it is made up of the components which is 3 and 2. Let me just label the vector maybe as vector u. So my vector u has got 2 components. Mathematically, how would I represent this? I would say that my vector u, it is made up of 2 components, or it can be expressed in form of its 2 components, which is this component which is along the x-axis, which is 3, and then this component which is along the y-axis, which is 2. So I can just say this is 3, 2. This also tells you what is the coordinate of this highest point here, which is given by x is equals to 3 and y is equals to 2. But when you are representing it this way, you are trying to explain that this is a vector having an x component of 3 and a y component of 2. So in linear algebra, whenever we talk about vectors, we need to also talk about their components as well. So we can only draw up to the 3D Cartesian plane whereby we have a z-axis. In the case whereby we have a z-axis, you often see a vector, maybe let me just say a vector v, and this vector has got maybe 2, 3, 4. This one is a vector that exists also along the z-axis as well. So this is the x, the y, and the z. But in linear algebra, when we consider a vector space, we don't really limit ourselves to the dimensions that we can be able to represent geometrically, because basically once we are over the third dimension, we cannot perceive that as humans. But mathematically, we can just say in an abstract manner, a vector can have any number of components. So in general, we can just say in linear algebra, a vector, let me just say a vector u, it can have component number 1, which is u1. It can have component number 2, which is u2. It can have component number 3, which is u3, until the last component, whatever last component it is. So it means that here, the number of components a vector can have are not really limited to our geometry. Because once we've got more than 3 components, we cannot be able to draw that. Because you know that we can only draw up to the z-axis. That's why we only end here in such type of vectors. But now in linear algebra, it's more of an abstract idea to say that if we have more components and more dimensions, all of them will be contained in one space, and that is known as a vector space. Now, these components here are not only represented in form of coordinates, okay, but we can also represent them as a matrix as well. So when we represent these components as a matrix, let me just say, for example, you are having this u here, which is 3, 2. These components can be represented as a column vector. So a column vector can be something like this. So a column vector is a matrix format that has got here 3, that has got here 2. So basically, this is the first component, this is the second component. If we had more than 2 components, we would continue going until the last component. So in general, we can just say a vector u can also be expressed as a column vector, meaning that these components, you can lay them out in a column format, u1, u2, u3, until un. Bear in mind that this un here, it is representing the last component. Okay, the last component is the nth component. So if we're having 10 components in a vector, your n is equals to 10. If we're having 100 components in a vector, your n is equals to 100. Okay, so this is not an infinity. No, it's a finite number of components that are contained within the what? The vector space. So now when we represent this as a column vector, we need to also look at another notation. Usually, the components that we use are real numbers. So usually whenever we talk about vectors, the components here, they are scalar quantities. Bear in mind that a vector has got components, but those components are what? Are scalar quantities. When they are scalar quantities, it simply means that it's just a number. It's just a number. So this 3 here is a scalar. This 2 here is a scalar. But all together, they make up a what? A vector. Okay. Remember that a vector is made up of a magnitude and a direction. The magnitude part, that's a scalar. It's just a number. So basically we say that such vectors, they exist because we have got components that are real numbers. And those components, if we have got, for this one, we've got a vector that is 2-dimensional. It has got 3 units, or it has got a magnitude of 3 along the first dimension, usually the x-axis. It has got a magnitude of 2 along the second dimension, usually our y-axis. So we can just say that these components are an element of real numbers, and then these real numbers, we raise this to the power of 2. So this 2 here, it tells us that the components that we are having here, they are 2-dimensional. It means that we're having 2 different components in simple terms. So whenever you see something like r to the power of 2 like this is just saying the components are real numbers. And then those are real numbers, they are in 2 dimensions. We've got maybe an x dimension and a y dimension. So if it's going to be something like this, maybe v is given by 2, 3, 4, these components are in 3 dimensions. So in other words, we're trying to say that your vector has got 3 components, in other words, 3 different components. So we can just say this is all an element of what? This is all an element of real numbers to the power of 3. So this is the real numbers to the power of 3. This is just telling you that the components are real numbers. So we can consider all real numbers from negative infinity until positive infinity. Any number that you can think of, your 100, your 1000, all of it, it falls within the what? The real numbers, and it falls within the vector space that we're talking about. So now having a column vector like this, We can now talk about another special type of vector known as the zero vector. So the zero vector, what type of vector is a zero vector? The zero vector is actually a point. When you want to describe a point in terms of vectors, it is known as a zero vector. So is otherwise known as a null vector. Okay, so when you talk about a point, let me just say this point here on the origin, this is a point. Okay, it does not have any components. It does not have any component along the y-axis, along the z-axis, or along the x-axis. So we can just say that this point can be labeled as 0, 0, 0, 0, like this, to just say that here we're having 0 along the x, 0 along the y-axis. So a point can also be called a vector, and that is known as a what? A zero vector. A zero vector is an identity element, but I'm still going to explain what is an identity element, and you're still going to understand what's the whole significance of this. Okay, so now basically this is 0, 0. It's known as a zero vector. So if I was to represent a zero vector, I would write a 0 like this, and the 0 would have an arrow on top. All the vectors, I'm putting arrows on them so that you can differentiate between vectors and numbers. Vectors are not necessarily just numbers. Vectors have got components that have got different dimensions, but just numbers are just scalars. So this 0 with an arrow on top shows you that this is a zero vector. So the zero vector would have components such as 0, 0, 0. It simply means that here basically we're having a series of zeros. We don't have any component with a magnitude greater than 0. Otherwise, we're just trying to say that a zero vector is a point. Yeah, it's just a point. Okay, so the zero vector is an identity element. It's very important because it serves quite a lot in proving that this is a vector space, or maybe later some subspaces. Okay, so the zero vector being there is also significant as well. The third type of vector that I want to show you that you might not have known is a polynomial. Polynomial is an example of a vector space. So a polynomial, a single polynomial, can be considered to be a vector. And you ask yourself, how can that be? Okay, so a polynomial, let's just say a polynomial which is given by p at x. Remember, a polynomial, it has got coefficients and it has got a variable x. So I can just say that this is the first coefficient a, which is a naught. The second coefficient, which is going to be a1 times x to the power of 1. The third one, which is going to be a2 times x to the power of 2, and so forth, until the last component, which is going to be a n x to the power of n. This is just the general structure of all polynomials. I'm sure you know all polynomials. Why can I say that this is a vector space? This is also a vector space because you can represent this as a column vector actually. How can that happen? Let me just say you have got a vector, a polynomial g at x given by 2x cubed plus 4x squared. 2x cubed plus 4x squared plus 3x. Okay, polynomial. Let me just take a quadratic polynomial for simplicity's sake. 2x squared plus 4x minus 3. So this polynomial here can be represented as a vector, a column vector. So in other words, I can write g at x as a vector. And then in this vector, I have to simply mention that I've got a constant which is -3. And then the coefficient of x, it is 4. The coefficient of x squared, it is 2. So in other words, a polynomial, it has got the same, it looks the same as just this vector as well. When you perform operations on polynomials, such as scalar multiplication and addition, all of that will be the same thing as performing those operations on such a vector. So a polynomial is also a vector. Now, the last part that I want to show you for this video is how they are going to represent, or how they are going to show you, how they are going to question you the vector spaces. So usually, let me just say I want to represent this as a general vector space because this is a specific vector. You see, this U is one vector, and the vector space is a set, more like collecting them. It's a collective, it's a set. So this is one vector. How can we represent it generally? A vector space. The vector space V can actually be written as a set. Remember that whenever we talk about sets, we use curly braces to be able to show that whatever is inside the curly braces is a what? Is a set, or is grouped items. All right. So in this case, this vector has got what? Has got an x component and a y component. So I would just write this as what? As a vector with an x component and a y component. And then now I say that the x and the y component, all of these components are an element of real numbers, and all of this is existing in 2 dimensions. So this is just trying to say that this is the vector space containing all vectors that look like this one. So this u here, which is given by 3, 2, is a vector. It's like one vector, one object, having 3 as a magnitude along the x-axis, having 2 as the magnitude along the y-axis. But generally, if we want to pick another vector will have the same format. To have an x component and a y component. So I can say that this u is a vector that is inside this vector space, because it has got an x component and a y component, right? An x component and a y component, which are both real numbers. So I'm allowed to say that whenever you're solving problems, right, or whenever you are whenever you're solving problems, or whenever you are proving a vector space, you are always required to pick elements from a vector space, or you are always allowed to pick objects, or you are allowed to pick vectors from a vector space. I can pick a vector u, and I can say that my vector u has got the first x component, which is x1, and then the second one, which is y1. This is a vector that is coming from this vector space. I can also pick another one just by my choice and say I want to pick a vector v, which will have an x component x2 and a y component y2. These are going to be replaced by real numbers, by the way. I'm just showing you a general format to say that this is actually a general way of saying we have got many items here, infinite number of items that have got the same format, having x1, having an x value and a y value, x value and a y value. So all of these are found within this vector space. Even if I pick another one of my choice and just say that I want to create a vector and call it a vector p, this vector p, if I give it a certain x value, maybe let's just say this is x3 and then y3, as long as this is following the same format as the general vector space, it means that all of these are vectors, or all of these are objects that are found within this vector space. So these are objects found within this vector space. So mathematically, we can say that vector u, vector v, and vector p are in V. That's how we usually conclude whenever we want to talk in linear algebra terms. So the vector u, the vector v, and the vector p, all of these are vectors in V. How would you see a vector that is different from them? Let me give you another one. If I give you a certain vector and I tell you that I have got a vector r, and this vector r is given by maybe, let me just write a weird format, maybe 2x over 3. Let me just say this is a vector r alone. And now you'll be like, I know this is definitely not in the same format as this one, right? So this r is not in this vector space, because for a vector to be inside this particular vector space, it must have an x value and a y value, and those must be real numbers. If I give you another vector and I say I give you a vector s, and I say that this vector has got 4, 3, 3, 7 as the components, this s is not inside vector space V, because it is having 1, 2, 3, 4 components. It's different format. So we can say that this is not found in this vector space. So we can deduce and say that both vector r and vector s are not in V. It means that these are not found within this vector space, or they are not having the same format as this vector space stipulates. So now, just to tell you, for you to actually say that a vector space is a vector space, there are actually 10 axioms that you're supposed to satisfy. So for a vector space to be qualified as a vector space, there are 10 axioms, or there are certain 10 rules that you're supposed to satisfy. So please make sure that you watch our next video where we explain the 10 axioms that qualify a vector space to be a vector space. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends also. Stay tuned.